Welcome back to what would normally be the trade targets video, but since the trade deadlines have hit, we're going to look towards 2024. This is going to be actually a really fun video. I'm excited for this one, and it was inspired by a tweet from my man, Sam Sherman. Now, Sam does really good work over at Establish the Run. He does their waiver wire podcast every single week. He's just a very good Twitter follow. So I will link his stuff down below. I'm sure he'll be on the screen at some point or another. He tweeted something out a few days ago saying, my early guess at 2024 ADP, average draft position, on Underdog Fantasy. As most of y'all probably know at this point, Underdog runs best ball drafts throughout the entire offseason. Them shits start up like immediately after the Super Bowl. So we will start drafting.
Big as the what?
Big as the what? Immediately.
I can't wait to see how this ages.
What do you mean?
Just like someone's going to get traded and like,
oh,
just,
yeah.
This is going to be nowhere
Every
close.
single, we could redo this video every week. So what we're going to do is go through what he guesses is the top 12 ADP next year on Underdog, which is half PPR, one quarterback leagues. And then we're also going to give our top 12 rankings projected for the first round of drafts next year. Again, this is not Sam's rankings. These are what he projects the ADP on Underdog to be. We'll throw them up on the screen for those of y'all listening via podcast. We'll read the 1 through 12 out for you right now. He is projecting Tyreek Hill, C-Mac, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown, Diggs, Justin Jefferson, Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Puka at 11, Travis Etienne at 12, and then he also has a follow-up tweet about a bunch of guys that he said would be in the mix, then gives like a quick, like questionable sentence about why they probably didn't really make it in there, including dudes like Kelsey Olave, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Nico, Tank Dell, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Debo Ayuk, Achane, Kyron, JT, and Pollard. But he has those 12 up there. And Jaymo, I'll move the big lights over to you. Is there anyone on that list or any order there?
It's pretty clear
that stand out to you that you think maybe don't belong?
ETN, I don't think.
Wow, that was the first name. I thought you were going to go towards Puka.
No, I like Puka.
Okay, interesting. ETN at 12. Do you think that your opinion on that is a little bit of a
stubborn?
No, I was going to say a recency bias thing. Like, okay, if you take Travis Etienne's season up to this point and you flipped it, like what he's done over the last 3 weeks, you put as week 1, 2, 3, and then what he did in the beginning of the year has been the last 3 weeks, do you think you'd look at him differently?
Possibly. I think no matter what, the first round grade would be too rich for me.
Okay.
And I'm still going
Why?
back to the fact that I believe Doug Peterson likes to work with the committee. I think he wanted to this year. It's just Tank Bigsby's that bad. Next year they're going to take a third round running back, maybe a free agent. Like, I just, as much work ETN is getting and he's putting it to use, I don't think that was Peterson's plan, and I think he's going to try to make sure that doesn't happen next season.
I agree. He doesn't feel like someone who's like a bust, but he feels like he's a bad first-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that. I feel like everything that they did this offseason with Tank was like elite bad, like elite levels of bad.
Just fumbles.
He couldn't like run a play successfully.
Yeah.
It wasn't even, the ball didn't even need to go to him for him to fuck the play up this year. So I think they did everything in their power to try to have ETN not be like a full-blown workhorse, and were pushed into having it. And maybe now, I asked the question of like flipping the season, but maybe the order of how the season played out matters. Maybe ETN slowing down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe that's part of it. So
and still, like, as much as I'm a homer, like, this Jags team just isn't at that elite level of where anyone on this offense should be a first round. And I would argue second round pick Calvin Ridley isn't showing he was worth that second round value. Like,
no, definitely
they're just not there at that elite status.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think they probably need to invest a little bit more in their offensive line and like see an improvement there. I think objectively, if you look at the offense though, they'll be a good offense, which is why I'm like, ETN's not a bust or a full fade by any means, but I do agree that like first round is crazy. I'm gonna jump one spot up there, Puka. I get it. I'm not there with him.
Really?
Yeah. If I'm the number like 10 or 11 pick in my draft, Puka's not going to be the guy for me. I probably can't
pull that trigger as well. Okay, I guess I'm in two places. A, I agree with Sam. That's where he'll probably be.
Really?
B, I can't do that myself. But I think there's a real, he's going to go over Kupp. I think we would both agree on that.
Sure.
Kupp's still probably going to be.
Let me ask you this, though, actually. Cooper Kupp this previous weekend, what did he go, like 8 for 115 and a touchdown?
Yeah, they both had good.
What if Kupp goes on a tear? What if Kupp does that for the next 4 weeks? Are we now like, Kupp's actually a second rounder again? You know what I mean? It's so fickle.
It is.
It's really a week by week thing.
This will change every week.
I like Puka a lot. I guess one of the toughest part about this exercise is projecting next year. Like
predicting off-season moves is possible.
Yeah, like Sean McVay could fucking retire. Like he's talked about it before.
I don't think they will because they have such a good relationship. They probably should trade Cup. Like that's probably a smart front office move that they won't do.
And then the question begs, like, sure, we've seen Puka be good without Cup, but like a full season of what if it's like the Juju thing, where Juju was amazing as a rookie, you know, big year or whatever, and then it's like as soon as Antonio Brown left, Juju couldn't handle being the alpha on the team. And I'm not saying Puka, that's Puka. I think Puka's awesome, and he's earned every bit of like of near the turn, but I'm not there with him at 11 when you have other guys behind him that I probably would take above.
Another thing is I can't really factor this in entirely, but he is always like, Puka's questionable. Puka's dealing with this. Like, he's not the biggest guy. He is banged up. Like, this year, he's actually getting kind of lucky, going to put up 16, 17 games. Next year, it could be he still has a good season, but it's only 12 or 13 games. And now it's like, that's not a first round.
Yeah.
And I can't predict injuries, but it's definitely not a first round asset I would be fully happy or confident in.
Yeah. I will say if all stays equal, like this offense stays in place, McVay's there, Stafford's still there, like they're the same team they were this year going into next year.
I mean, I don't know when you want to get to it, but I think Kyron should almost be.
Yeah, what I think we should do is work through up here and then kind of maybe work backwards about guys that we would put up or guys that we would expect not to be drafted where he currently projects them to go. Because jumping back, I don't see a world where Devon Achane is not a first-round pick next year. I think the hype will just be out of control.
Correct, and I'm probably see, it's tough. Like, I have him on my list, but I'm like, I just don't know if I could pull that trigger because Mike McDaniel, like, with the Niners, he didn't care. He just, like, who you're taking turns.
I don't think it's going to matter with Achane, though.
Maybe. He might only need 150 carries in the entire year, but
I think that's real, and that brings me to the next point of, like, Gibbs at 9 feels rich, knowing the way that they use David Montgomery right now. I don't know if I have a strong take on it. Like, I do actually think Gibbs will be a first-round pick. Like, again, this is not Sam's rankings. These are where he projects ADP to land, and I think people are going to be wildly high on Gibbs. Wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being the RB2 next year in draft.
I disagree. RB2. I don't think anyone's going to put him above Bijan or CMC.
Right now, rest of the season. Would you rather have Gibbs or Bijan?
I still like Bijan. But next year,
I don't know, dude.
Next year, like, I would argue Bijan's like my RB1.
Not over C-Mac. Based on what?
He gets hurt.
Big as the what?
Okay, so this is a little bit of my. I am in on Bijan with the hope the Falcons make some moves.
Sure.
I can't project that right now or predict it, but if they had an offseason I was happy with, I would have him as like RB1.
Is there any quarterback move? Can you name one that exists? A move happens that doesn't make Bijan, that doesn't make you feel more comfortable about Bijan.
Say that again.
Desmond Ridder is not the starter next year.
Yeah.
I can't tell you who it is, but it's anyone besides Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke.
Is there someone that could be
Can you
worse?
name someone where there's a downgrade?
Jimmy G.
Okay. You feel...
I don't even know if it's a downgrade. It's just a stagnant move, I guess, where it's like I probably wouldn't be in on him as an RB2. I would need some change for him to be the RB1 that I want him to be, and I think he can be. But if they just make a lateral move where Arthur Smith gets Jimmy G, Ryan Tannehill, or just some vet just because to throw a name in there.
Yeah.
But if they can get an above average play, like even Goff, I think could just make this team a little bit better. Not that he's on the trading block. And
Goff, he just makes running backs so good, right? That's why Jahmyr Gibbs is up there right now. So Bijan could easily
This is also in the hope like Arthur Smith is gone.
Right, and this is what I'm saying. We're projecting a lot. And I feel like in the offseason is almost pure upside projection.
Mm-hmm.
Almost no one goes, I'm actually going to account for what if they keep Desmond Ridder? What if they bring on a rookie who struggles for his entire, people don't necessarily project for that. And I think that's a very realistic option for the Falcons.
It could also be like if, say they keep Ridder or they take the rookie, if they go to the playoffs, and even if they lose first round, if Bijan has like a 150-yard game, a touchdown, and a loss, that is going to carry over so far in the next year because that's his most recent game.
Maybe. There's been something that's like off with Bijan as a fantasy player this year. And I think if you've...
That's almost why I almost like him because he's like RB8 and I feel like nothing's going well. Like if
things have gone well, but like in my counterpoint is that like not everything always improves. Everyone's always like, oh, they added these pieces, the offensive line's gonna be better. Sometimes it just gets worse, or it's just stagnant. And I feel like Bijan, we already know what the situation is. So just projecting pure upside feels like a little bit of a reach, where Gibbs right now, we know Detroit's offense is going to be probably really fucking good for the foreseeable future. So I'm not arguing that I would take Gibbs over Robinson, but I think there's a real chance that people will.
I think we could throw Brees in there as well.
I agree. I would definitely get to him, and he's in my top 12.
Yeah.
My rankings. We'll grab at the end of the video. Now, the wide receivers, interesting. The Jefferson disposition. Now, I saw Sam jumping around in the comments a little bit where everyone's like, you're way too low on Jefferson. I think that's probably the first thing that everyone sees. Jefferson, I think you could argue all the way back up at the 101. Question becomes quarterback.
That was his reasoning. Like, he truly doesn't think Kirk's there.
Which, that feels like too much of like a Twitter take. I think there's a super real chance that Kirk is back and they just sign him to a 1 or 2 year deal. In that case, I'd feel good about Jefferson again because we've already seen what he's going to do. I would put a higher likelihood of Kirk being back than someone else being a starter there. And
I'm fine with taking Jamar as like a top 2 pick.
Over which of those top 2 guys? Like, you don't want C-Mac as a top 2 guy, top 3 guy. You seem hesitant.
Jamar might be my like 101. I'm getting spicy.
Why?
I just think he's wide receiver 5 this year, and Burrow
and not even close to what those guys do.
Fair.
Tyreek and C-Mac.
Fair. But he's also not even close of the same situation. Like, he's got Jake Browning, and for the first month, Burrow is struggling. And I'm going back to the Bijan thing where I'm just assuming it's going to be better.
It will be better, but it's not just like, all right.
I also don't think Tyreek's going to go for 1,500 yards 3 years in a row. No wide receiver ever has done it.
I think I don't think it matters.
I don't think he will.
I mean, Tyreek's been just unbelievable in Miami. I don't see anything changing there. The one thing I will say, and this is like a conspiracy theory of mine again right now with Tyreek. Tyreek came out, I think last year. It might have been in between last year and this year, and he said he wanted to play 3 more years. Like, he was like already
contract.
He was already putting out a retirement thing.
Yeah.
And then I started watching the in-season Miami Dolphins Hard Knocks. I was watching some of the episodes, and he was like, I never dedicated myself to be like more of a family man. He was like, football was always my first focus. Football was always like my everything. And now I'm like a husband first, a father first, all that kind of stuff first. He's like, I put a little bit less into football, and I make sure that I'm like even keeled in that way. And he attributes his big season to that. But in my mind, I almost feel like there could be some sort of riding into the sunset with Tyreek Hill that maybe happens sooner. And again, very conspiracy theory-ish, but like,
so keep going.
Still my fucking receiver 1.
Okay.
And probably
it seems like
pick.
The argument's going towards where he shouldn't be worth the wide receiver 1.
I just play devil's advocate on like everything all the time. But I think Jamar Chase at 2 is
I'm
crazy.
big on like, just you were your best ever. You're probably not going to do that again. That's kind of what I'm like. This Miami offense is like historically good.
But Tyreek Hill is a story.
Yeah, I'm banking on them to not do that back-to-back seasons.
I mean, he already did it back-to-back seasons, right?
For a third time.
I'm in. I'm so fucking in.
CD, I probably would not have at the 103.
If the season ended today, I could see that happening. Again, because he's guessing this is going to be such a reactionary, like, look what they did at the end of the season kind of thing. If Jefferson plays the last 3 games healthy, goes over 100 yards, he's back up. Diggs, this one could go either way. He's been on a bad streak right now.
He's one that's like, is he going to be a Bill?
Right. If he goes, facts. He might not be a Bill next year. If he's not with Josh Allen, I don't feel great about him.
I am so emotional with the Bills where it's like, if they get in the playoffs, they're the last team I want to play. Or like, they need to just fucking get rid of McDermott, make everyone happy. Like, it's just so lopsided every week with them.
Yeah, and Diggs has struggled a little bit. But for me, I'm kind of trying to step out of it and be like, Diggs is Diggs. We saw what he did in the beginning of the year. We've seen what he's done for fucking 5 straight years now. Let's not overreact to anything there. I don't think he'll go as high as 6, but I think he'll end up being in that like 8-9 range like he was pretty much all offseason here.
At 6, no, but I think wide receiver, whatever that is, 5, that itself is probably for.
Yeah, I think I'd probably end up putting him maybe a couple spots below those, like that running back tier is really where I'd end up. Tyreek Hill, C-Mac, CD, Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown, business as usual. I think most of those guys will be in that range-ish somewhere.
I just feel like also with Dallas and CD, I think they might try and just not need to rely on the pass attack. So
yeah, my question is like Sam put Pollard at the end there, the very last player listed, and I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Yeah, not even.
Yeah, Pollard's
over.
It's fucking over. Might as well dust
And he's
his
on the
ass
tag,
off.
right? So he's probably going to walk, or they're going to make him walk.
Yeah, most likely. So I will read off who I have as my top 12 ranking. I have C-Mac at 1, Tyreek Hill at 2, Jefferson at 3, Jamar Chase at 4, CD at 5, Amon-Ra at 6, Bijan 7, Gibbs 8, Breece Hall 9, Devon Achane 10, A.J. Brown 11, Garrett Wilson. So the guys that I slid in there that weren't in the original one are Breece Hall, Devon Achane, and Garrett Wilson. And then just speaking in terms of like guys that I think will be in the underdog ADP. So those 12 that I just read off were my ranking. But again, I don't think there's a way that Devon Achane is not in the top 12 next year. Breece Hall, and everything points towards Aaron Rodgers being back next year and being their quarterback so far with all the hype of him playing this year. If Aaron Rodgers is under center, I think people are going to talk themselves into Breece Hall as a top 12 pick. And honestly, I'd be okay with that at the turn. I'm very much in on Breece Hall. I think he's a really good player. And obviously, if Rodgers is back, that would lend itself to Garrett Wilson being a big-time player as well. And then I have a tier of like 20 guys that I think you can argue anywhere from the 13th spot down to like the 30 spot that we could run through in a little bit. But you want to share your rankings?
Yeah, so like I have Bijan and Chase as my 1 and 2. That's like if everything goes okay. But Bijan, Chase, Tyreek, CMC, that's my 4. 5, I have Jefferson. 6, I have A.J. Brown. 7, I have Lamb. 8, I have Breece. 8, I have Diggs. 9, I have Breece. 10, Kyron. 11, Achane. 12 is Jonathan Taylor. But there's one wide receiver I'm not putting him as a top 12 wide receiver.
Is he in my second tier?
No.
There? He's not. Okay, hold on.
It's you're not going to get it. I think the hype around Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be that high.
Okay.
Because we've seen this year a rookie wide receiver, Puka. We've seen Jamar Chase 2 years ago.
What's the highest we've ever seen a rookie get drafted in redraft?
This all depends where he gets drafted. But if he gets like a Kyler Murray or just some situation where he gets a QB, in best ball, he's going to go that stupid high.
That's
I don't agree with it, but it's probably going to happen.
Wasn't even thinking about that. So he's going to get top 3 draft capital in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
And with that, like this year, he could be lucky enough to a lot of times if you're like a top 3 pick, you're going to a place with a shit quarterback. But the way this year is kind of playing out, Arizona's an option.
Luckily, it's not Carolina. That could get him.
Right. Kyler, maybe Chicago, so Justin Fields possibly, or another good like rookie quarterback or something. Who are the other like guys in the top? New England obviously would be a shit show. I'm actually thinking like who actually has been the highest drafted rookie wide receiver in fantasy? I feel like we haven't really seen many go above like
because even Chase,
4th.
Like Burrow was coming off his ACL, no one really knew. Jefferson obviously did.
This year, people like JSN he ended up by the end of the summer, he was like a mid-5th round pick. But even that's like really early.
No, there's probably someone that got like 2nd, 3rd, ever.
Dude, it's been moving up and up each year, but like it started way back. Like people never took rookie wide receivers, and they started moving them up, which is why that's the hesitancy for me. But it's a good call. Like I do think he will be like a top 30 pick, and maybe he'll have enough hype if he lands with a good quarterback. He could be a top 20 pick or something like that.
If a team that's good trades up for him, this is like, oh my God, I'm getting so far out there. If the Chiefs said, here's our first this year, here's our first next year, and they have Marvin Harrison Jr., he is a top 10 pick.
Yeah, probably.
That is not going to happen, but that would be a good move by the Chiefs.
That's fair.
They should so do that.
Okay, so those are our top 12 rankings, and here are guys. I have a group of like
JT
6 or 7 running backs. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely argue JT into there. I think just like not having a great year this year is going to push him back, but him a full year with Anthony Richardson would be pretty cool, and could easily see him finish as a top 3 RB next year. I have Pacheco, and this is in no particular order. These are guys that I think will go anywhere from pick 13 all the way through pick like 35. So some of them I'll name, and you'll be like, obviously he's not a fucking 1st or 2nd round pick, but Pacheco, Rashad White, Kyron Williams, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Travis Kelce. Wide receivers, I have. I didn't even have Diggs in the top 12. I think that was an oversight. But Diggs, Nico, Debo, Ayuk, Puka, Tank Dell, Drake London, Michael Pittman, Chris Olave, Zay Flowers, Rashee Rice, and then my other conversation I think that needs to be had, and I don't know if I'll know an answer until we see actual I want to see advance rates on Underdog to see Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts where those guys were, because they were really heavily drafted as like back end of the 2nd, early 3rd round quarterbacks. And those two are like the QB 1 and 2 this year. So I want to know in like a world where
Mahomes is like the Mahomes Kelsey stack is killing people.
Yeah.
Best ball.
Yeah. And that was like the early stack of those like elite duos right now. Allen and of the duos that were like picked early, I guess like Hurts and AJ Brown's a great one. Obviously, Allen and Diggs worked really well, but this was the first year that everyone went back to like picking QBs early. So I wonder if, because everyone's like, oh, they're so elite, they just score so many points, you need those on your team. I wonder if like using a premium pick on them worked. I want to say Allen and Hurts probably did, and I think there's probably an argument for them to be like top 15 picks now.
That and the Dak CD stack has got to be paying so many dividends to people.
Yeah, Dak's been really good. I wouldn't pick him just because he doesn't have that rushing upside.
No. Yeah, not to that level. But I'm saying advance rates, Dak's got to be in one of the top percentages. But to kind of counter that, it's like because of so many goddamn other quarterbacks being hurt, Burrow's out the year. Kirk was putting up insane fantasy numbers like QB6 or top 5. Yeah. Rodgers immediately. Obviously, none of these guys would have been 1 and 2 like Allen and Hurts. There are a lot of top 10 fantasy QBs that just.
Is there anyone on this list? Well, I guess
Rashi's high. I mean, I know he's like.
Yeah, I just kind of threw him in there because he's a dude. This one is like a mixture of guys I think could be on the borderline. Like Kyron Williams, have no problem. Assuming that like everything stays equal, what it is now, they don't draft like a fucking round 3 or 4 running back. I think McVay is so fucking bought into Kyron, which makes
20 touches plus.
Awesome, and he's been so good on the goal line. Rashad White's been sneaky so good, and like no one thought Tampa was going to be good.
So
Pacheco, sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
Evans, should he be there? Like the QB's got to determine it, but it does tell us like if Baker's re-signed, run it back.
Taking Mike Evans as like a borderline first feels weird.
Okay, not first, but this second tier of like.
Yeah, he probably should have been in there. I'm not sure where he's going though, because they like stopped doing contract negotiations before the season started. Yeah, so I'm not sure where he's. I'm not sure where he. What if he's a Panther? What if they spend big money on him? That's the wide receiver. Everyone's saying T. Higgins. Everyone's saying T. Higgins. And I mean, dude, he's old. It's like, how many more bags are you going to get? Capitalize now while you can.
I think he's just going to have some self-respect and numbers under his belt.
He'll go to a contender. But
it'd be kind of cool if he just went to Cincy. Like, they let T walk.
That would be fire.
That'd be gas.
That'd be so sick. Yeah, Kyron's definitely there. I think the argument for Pacheco, depending on what they do with CEH and Jerick McKinnon, like what if those two are both out of KC and they're just using like Deneric Prince as his backup? I think people will talk themselves into Pacheco top 15.
Yeah, but I probably couldn't do it. Just because with the Chiefs, they're the one team where we always talk about the hot hand. They'll trade that shit out immediately. You're having a rough patch. This guy's not.
Nico. I think there's a real chance Nico teen ADP too.
Yeah, so every year in best ball, it's like the key to winning best ball is like find the team no one's talking about. Like if you took a bunch of late round Texans this year, you're advancing. The year before,
it's kind of like the Lions, maybe.
Yeah, maybe the Detroit, the Seahawks probably. No one wanted anything to do with that.
So I sent a Rudman from Underdog put up like the team that won the regular season Best Ball Mania this year, and he posted his draft. And you look at the guys that he hit on. It's an 18-round draft. His 18th round pick was Kyron. His 17th round pick was Zach Moss. His 16th was Gus Edwards. His 15th was Tank Dell. His 14th was Brock Purdy. In the 11th, he had Nico. In the 10th, he had Raheem Mostert, Cortland Sutton, Rashad White, James Cook, Hawkinson, Keenan, Josh Allen, Diggs. Like, it was just fucking exemplary right there. And those are the guys that you're looking for. But, like, Nico.
Taking both Nico and Tank's pretty way to hit on that.
Facts, dude. Right? Like, you're buying into that, and you don't go with Stroud there, which is even crazier. It's like your QB3 or something. But that, like, the Stroud hype this offseason is going to be crazy.
He's going to be drafted like where Burrow and Herbert work. Mm-hmm. Just pick the gunslinger. And, I mean, I don't
blame anybody.
Yeah, I can't make a tough argument against it.
And that's why it's like Nico, Tank. You'd rather Nico over Tank? Or are you just going to take the cheapest one?
Dude, to be honest, I really like player themselves. I really like Tank. I think I might still lean Nico, though.
I think Nico is going to settle in around, like, I'm going to say 15. And then Tank's probably going to go.
I don't know if either will go that high.
Dude, I think you're underestimating. You got to, like, try to remember what, like, late August, early September looked like for some of these dudes. Like, the hype of guys.
I guess they'll be taking, like, that Calvin Ridley spot.
mid-5th round by the end of the summer last year.
But, like, we didn't even throw in DK.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's a first-rounder.
No, I'm talking about this second batch.
Oh, yeah, I probably meant to. I think by that point, I was more just like, okay. Nico, I think, will be 15. I think Tank Dell will be. Shit, dude. I think he'll be at the 2-3 turn. Tank Dell. Think about like
at that price rate, I'd go with Tank.
Olave.
Yeah,
he had the rookie year. He was getting picked like 15, 16 by the end of the summer. Like, you think Tank Dell's gonna have the same hype?
Last year, Olave, Higgins, and Devonta and Waddle.
We're all
That's
like
the
18, 19,
same.
20. You know what I mean? Like, that's where that group of like Nico, Tank Dell, these wide receivers are going to go. Brandon Ayuk will be a second-round pick. Debo will be a second-round pick. It's going to be
This is a Waddle year.
happy for you. What about Michael Pittman? Sneaky?
Dude, he's
been low-key
He's like the
fucking
new
awesome.
Keenan Allen.
He's
Like, he just eats targets.
He's a beast. And he's going to get AR back.
Him
that a
and
good
Mike
thing? I don't
Evans are
know.
the best mics in the league. Like, if they were going at like wide receiver 33 and 35 this offseason.
They were so. Drake London's another one where if we get a quarterback change, the Drake London hype's going to go crazy. And it's like going to be kind of warranted, but I probably won't pick him where he ends up.
I don't know if it's going to be as crazy thing. I think people are going to be low on him. Where was he going this year? Right around that Mike Evans range? Third? Oh, no, he was going like
was
Jared
earlier.
Judy. Jared
Early
Judy
fourth.
going there.
But now, like, seeing what he can do with Desmond Ridder at QB, if we go out and we get
Unfortunately, I think their best route is going to be a rookie QB, and it's going to have to take another year.
well, you're not our GM, so it's not true. I don't know
They
what
should
we're
just
gonna
trade
do.
everything for like.
We should have traded Pitts while he had value. We
He's
should
so
have not
cheap.
drafted Pitts.
Chief.
Imagine taking a tight end at 4 overall.
I mean,
Like, you could have traded. Think about it. You could have traded the 4th overall pick for any tight end in the league you wanted.
backs.
But instead, you grab a project.
I mean, I think he is good. He's got great hands. He's going to be at our combine.
My stomach about Kyle Pitts.
Turn into a bad episode.
Oh God.
I don't know if Zay Flowers is going to be a top 3 round pick.
I could
First
see him
3
going
rounds.
at the turn of the 3.
You
4,
think?
though.
Okay, so while we have like an idea of the first 3 rounds, you think there's any other tight end that sneaks back in here? Like, that's where Andrews was going last year.
I could see Andrews being there. I could see this last 5 weeks. I think it's going to be really important for guys like McBride and Kincaid to see how Kincaid performs when Knox is now back, and McBride to see if he can do it for a long period of time. I think the Laporta hype is going to be fucking insane, obviously. So I could see him sneaking into the back of the 3rd. Early, he'll be like 3rd, 4th round. I think the middle rounds will be littered with.
Yeah,
like the
TJ's
early
going to
middle.
get. I mean, he's going to have 1,000. He's going to be.
Oh yeah, I should have put TJ in here probably. He'll be.
I feel like this will be another year with all those other guys that are like young and have hype. You might be able to get Kittle on a discount.
Yeah, maybe. I kind of think I want the young dudes though.
Yeah, just give me 8 points a game every week.
Hey,
Cubs going to be like crazy value.
all these guys like Devontae, all these guys will end up going in here most
I think
likely.
Devontae's going to be a Jet. This is just an off-season video. Free
Um,
agency.
I could see it. Devontae, Garrett Wilson, Rodgers, and Brees, and then the
That's
team
probably
just,
something I just stay away from.
they just implode. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
I
just gonna be
don't.
terrible. Nah, I would draft Brees there. Actually, that wide receiver group would be impossible. I think I'd want to.
That's.
I think I'd over-index. I'm back in. I'm back in on Tyler Kroft.
There's no way both of them go for 1,000.
Tyler Kroft. Yeah. What do you mean, dude? They're gonna be the only ones that get targets there.
Take us
All right,
away.
Jaymo, take us away.
All right, that's our 2024 predictions. Tyreek Hill's overrated. Jamar Chase underrated. Marvin Harrison Jr. properly rated. We will be back next week for 2025. Give us a like, give us a sub, give us some love. Peace.